If you ever want to know how dependent your life is on electricity, here's the quickest way to learn it. Wake up one morning and realize your phone won't turn on. Your lights don't work. The car won't start. The neighbor's car won't start either. You walk outside and it's not just your house. It's the whole street. No street lights. No normal noise. No little background hum of a functioning world. That's the moment people get it backwards. Most folks spend the first hour trying to figure out what happened. They refresh a dead phone, they walk around confused, they wait for an explanation that isn't coming. The move is the opposite. In the first hour, you don't need the full story. You need to buy time. Because whether this is an EMP-style event, a cascading grid failure, a major cyber disruption, or a regional disaster that knocks out power and communications, the early phase always has the same problem. Modern systems fail in layers, and you want to stay ahead of those layers instead of reacting after they collapse. So I'm going to walk you through 11 actions that matter right away. Not theory, real-world priorities, the kind of stuff that keeps small problems from turning into irreversible ones. And don't worry, you don't need to be a superhero to do any of this. You just need to move in the right order. Action 1 is the calmest thing on the list, and it's also the most important. Take 5 minutes and confirm what kind of outage you're in, not because you're hunting for the perfect label, but because your pacing changes depending on scope. Step outside and look for patterns. Are multiple homes dark, or just yours? Do you hear generators already, or is it dead quiet? Do you see traffic moving normally, or is it weirdly still? Try a couple basic checks. Does a battery flashlight work? Does a basic battery radio power on? If you have an older, simple device that still runs, that's a clue the event might be taking down infrastructure, not every single battery-powered thing. If your car won't start, don't assume EMP instantly. Cars fail for a lot of reasons, but if multiple modern vehicles in the area are simultaneously dead and the neighborhood looks like everything electronic just got unplugged from reality, treat it as a long outage until proven otherwise. Here's the mindset that keeps you alive. If it's short, you can always relax later. If it's long and you wasted the first hour, you can't get that hour back. Action 2, and this is the one people regret the most if they miss it. Secure water immediately. You don't need a perfect number. You need volume. In many places, you'll get a short window where municipal pressure still pushes water through the pipes. Then it drops. And once it drops, you're no longer in tap water mode. You're in treat and conserve mode. So fill what you can. Bathtub, pots, pitchers, bottles, clean bins, anything food safe that holds water. If you have a water heater tank and you know how to access it safely, that's stored water sitting there already. The main point is simple. Stored water buys you time. Time buys you choices, and choices keep you out of panic. Action 3 is safety, and most people skip it because they're distracted. Stabilize your house before you start running around doing errands inside it. If the power went out in a weird way, treat your home like a place where hazards can quietly appear. Unplug sensitive electronics so you don't get a surprise surge if power snaps back. If you smell gas, don't debate it. Get outside and handle it like a real emergency. If you rely on any medical devices, locate them, check battery status, and switch to your backup plan early, not when you're already in a bind. And if you have candles, treat them like last resort mood lighting, not your primary plan. Open flame causes more problems than it solves if you're careless. Action 4 is about people, not gear. Get your household on the same page. In outages, the biggest stress multiplier is confusion. Everyone has a different assumption. One person thinks it's an hour. Someone else thinks it's a week. Kids get scared. Adults get snappy. Nobody is coordinated. So you do a quick reset. Who is staying home? Who is checking neighbors? Who is responsible for water and food? Who is watching kids? Who is keeping an ear on the radio? If family members are away from home, you need a simple rally plan. Not, we'll text. Text may not work. Not, we'll figure it out. That turns into wandering. Pick one primary meeting point and one backup. The goal is convergence, not improvisation. And if you got kids in school, remember the school usually has a reunification plan. In most cases, the safest thing is for kids to stay there until a parent can pick them up. So you're not creating more danger by turning school pickup into a chaotic road mission. Action 5 is food, and it's not about eating like a king, it's about not wasting what you already own. Your fridge just turned into a timer. So you stop opening it like it's entertainment. Every open is lost cold. Every lost cold is lost food. Start with triage. What spoils first? Use that first. Cook it while you can. Eat it soon. If you can cook safely with a stove, grill, or camp stove, do it. If not, don't gamble with food safety. Then protect the freezer. A full freezer holds longer than a half-empty one. If you've got empty space, filling it with frozen water bottles can help stabilize temperature. If it's cold outside and it's safe, you can use nature as a temporary freezer. Your pantry food is your long game. Your fridge food is your short game. Use them accordingly. Action 6 is one people pretend they'll deal with later. Medication and basic medical readiness. This is not the moment to realize you don't know where your prescriptions are. If anyone in your household relies on daily meds, pull them together, confirm what you have, and protect them from heat and moisture. If you have anything that needs refrigeration, you need a backup plan quickly. Cooler, ice, or adjusting your approach based on what's available. For basic medical, the most valuable items are boring: bandages, gauze, antiseptic wipes, antibiotic ointment, fever reducer, pain relief, allergy meds, anti-diarrheal meds, and hydration support. Those are the items that prevent minor issues from turning into spirals. And let me say this clearly. In extended outages, dehydration and infection become bigger risks than most people expect. Staying ahead of those keeps you functioning. Action 7 is where people get weird because money feels abstract until it doesn't work. Gather your physical cash and keep it organized. If card readers are down and networks are unstable, cash becomes the bridge for small transactions. Not forever, but early on, it can still matter. Keep small bills, 1s, 5s, 10s, 20s. In a stress situation, people may not be able to make change, and they may not want to accept large bills. Don't flash cash. Don't talk about it. Just keep it secure and use it strategically when it actually helps. And understand the bigger point. Cash is useful early. Later, barter and relationships often matter more. Action 8 is security, and I'm going to keep this practical, not paranoid. Make your home harder to mess with and make yourself less interesting. Lock doors and windows. Close curtains at night. Keep light low profile. If you use a generator, don't advertise it like a lighthouse. In stress situations, the bright house gets attention. Not always violent attention, but attention you don't want. Perimeter awareness is mostly about early warning, not confrontation. Motion lights if they work. A simple door chime on battery. Even low-tech noisemakers that alert you if someone is poking around. The goal is time. Time to wake up. Time to assess. Time to avoid a bad situation. And here's the underrated move. Coordinate with 1 or 2 trusted neighbors. You don't need a block-wide meeting. Just enough of a mutual eye on the street so you're not isolated. A connected block is safer than a street full of people hiding alone behind blinds. Action 9 is transportation, and it's not just, can my car start? It's, what does mobility look like now? If your vehicle works, great. Protect it. Don't waste fuel. Don't run errands like it's a normal day. If your vehicle doesn't work, then you're local. That changes everything. You plan for walking distance. You plan for staying put. You plan for conserving energy and not chasing rumors. If you do have an older vehicle with fewer electronics, it may be more resilient in some scenarios, but don't build your whole plan around being the one person who can drive while everyone else can't. That's a great way to become memorable. Mobility is power, but it also creates visibility. Action 10 is protecting what still works. If you have any critical electronics that survived, treat them like rare tools. A battery radio, a headlamp, spare batteries, a power bank that still holds charge, a backup phone, a small solar charger. Whatever you have that extends your capability, protect it. You don't need a fancy Faraday setup to do something useful here. A simple approach is storing critical electronics in a sealed metal container with insulation so the device isn't touching metal directly. The point is reducing exposure and keeping backups protected, not building a science project. And if you don't have backups, this becomes your lesson for next time. Because you can get through a lot if you can still get information and still make light. Action 11 is the one people skip because it doesn't feel like action. Shift from emergency mode to sustainable mode. If the outage looks like it could be long, you need routine fast. Routine keeps people sane. Routine reduces mistakes. Routine protects relationships. Set a daily rhythm, wake time, water checks, food plan, cleanup, security check, radio listening, work tasks, rest. Assign roles. Keep people busy with meaningful tasks. Idle time in a crisis turns into anxiety and conflict. And protect morale like it's a supply, because it is. Books, cards, simple games, music, stories, anything that keeps people human. Long disruptions don't just test your pantry, they test your mind. Here's the real takeaway. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to do the basics early and in the right order. Confirm scope, secure water, stabilize the home, get the household coordinated, save your food, protect medical needs, gather cash, tighten security, understand mobility, protect working tools, build routine. Perimeter awareness is mostly about early warning, not confrontation. That's the framework, and it applies to almost every disaster, not just one specific scenario. Ice storms, hurricanes, earthquakes, cyber outages, extended blackouts. The details change, but the priorities stay weirdly consistent. If you can handle the first day calmly, the next week becomes manageable. Not comfortable, but manageable. And in a real crisis, manageable is a superpower.